The Kesh Temple Hymn translation into English. Some words could not be translated or original has been lost or damaged.
The princely one came forth from the house. Enlil, the princely one, came forth from the house. The princely one came forth royally from the house. Enlil lifted his glance over all the lands, and the lands raised themselves to Enlil. The four corners of heaven became green for Enlil like a garden. Kesh was positioned there for him with head uplifted, and as Kesh lifted its head among all the lands, Enlil spoke the praises of Kesh. Nisaba was its decision-maker. With its words she wove it intricately like a net. Written on tablets, it was held in her hand's house, platform of the land, important fierce bull. House Kesh, platform of the land, important fierce bull, growing as high as the hills, embracing the heavens, growing as high as Ekur, lifting its head among the mountains, rooted in the Abzu, have instead colorful as the Abzu, verdant like the mountains. Will anyone else bring forth something as great as Kesh? Will any other mother ever give birth to someone as great as its hero Acgi? Who has ever seen anyone as great as its Lady Nintud? Good house, built in a good location, House Kesh, built in a good location, floating in the heavens like a princely barge, like a holy barge furnished with a gate, like the boat of heaven, the platform of all the lands, from the riverbank like a boat cabin. House roaring like an ox, bellowing loudly like a breed bull. House in whose interior is the power of the land, and behind which is the life of Sumer. House, great enclosure, reaching to the heavens, great, true house, reaching to the heavens. House, great crown reaching to the heavens, house, rainbow reaching to the heavens. House whose platform extends into the midst of the heavens, whose foundations are fixed in the Abzu, whose shade covers all lands. House founded by An, praised by Enlil, given an oracle by Mother Nintud. House Kesh, green in its fruit. Will anyone else bring forth something as great as Kesh? Will any other mother ever give birth to someone as great as its hero Acgi? Who has ever seen anyone as great as its Lady Nintud? House, at its upper end a bison, at its lower end a stag house, at its upper end a wild sheep, at its lower end a deer house, at its upper end a dappled wild sheep, at its lower end a beautiful deer. House, at its upper end green like a viper, at its lower end floating on the water like a pelican. House, at its upper end rising like the sun, at its lower end spreading like the moonlight house, at its upper end a warrior mace, at its lower end a battle axe house, at its upper end a mountain, at its lower end a spring. House, at its upper end threefold indeed. Will anyone else bring forth something as great as Kesh? Will any other mother ever give birth to someone as great as its hero Acgi? Who has ever seen anyone as great as its Lady Nintud? House, inspiring great awe, called with a mighty name by an house, whose fate is grandly determined by the great mountain Enlil. House of the Anuna gods, possessing great power, which gives wisdom to the people. House, reposeful dwelling of the great gods. House, which was planned together with the plans of heaven and earth, with the pure divine powers. House, which underpins the land and supports the shrines. House, mountain of abundance, which passes the days in glory. House of Ninhursaja, which establishes the life of the land. House, great hillside worthy of the purification rites, altering all things. House without whom no decisions are made. House, good, carrying in its hands the broad land. House which gives birth to countless peoples, seed which has sprouts. House which gives birth to kings, which determines the destinies of the land. House whose royal personages are to be revered. Will anyone else bring forth something as great as Kesh? Will any other mother ever give birth to someone as great as its hero Acgi? Who has ever seen anyone as great as its Lady Nintud? It is indeed a city. It is indeed a city. Who knows its interior? The house Kesh is indeed a city. Who knows its interior? The heroes make their way straight into its interior and perform its oracle rites perfectly. Frisking cattle are gathered at the house in herds. The house consumes many cattle. The house consumes many sheep. One line unclear. Those who sit on daisies bow their necks before it. It wears a crown to vie with the boxwood tree. It spreads out to vie with the poplar. It is adze here growing as green as the hills. Will anyone else bring forth something as great as Kesh? Will any other mother ever give birth to someone as great as its hero Acgi? Who has ever seen anyone as great as its Lady Nintud? House given birth by a lion, whose interior the hero has embellished. House Kesh, given birth by a lion, whose interior the hero has embellished. The heroes make their way straight into its interior. Ninhursaja sits within like a great dragon. Nintud the Great Mother assists at births there. Kolpiaid the ruler acts as lord. Asgi the hero consumes the contents of the vessels. Uramas, the great herald of the plains, dwells there too. Stags are gathered at the house in herds, but will anyone else bring forth something as great as Kesh? Will any other mother ever give birth to someone as great as its hero Asgi? Who has ever seen anyone as great as its lady Nintud? House positioned over its foundations like a storm, like white bulls standing about on the plain. House founded by the prince in praise on the TG instrument. House in whose interior is the power of the land, and behind which is the life of Sumer. Instead, it is filled with life. At whose gate is a lion reclining on its paws, at whose gate is the ruler who decides cases. House at whose door is the great mountain without adversary, at whose bolt. Have here instead at whose bar is a great frisking wild bull. Add here the line, at whose bolt is a beast. A man, at whose, is an awe-inspiring lion, whose well-founded storehouse is a corner of heaven, a corner of earth, whose storehouse established as a household, whose terrace is supported by Lahama deities, whose princely 1ms adds great wall. The shrine of Urim, will anyone else bring forth something as great as Kesh? Will any other mother ever give birth to someone as great as its hero Asgi? Who has ever seen anyone as great as its lady Nintud? House imbued with radiance, excellence. House, Lord Nudimud in heaven and earth. Brickwork of the land, brickwork. Grandly in the Abzu, terrace, relaxing abode, holy splendor of the people. House which is seemly for the foreign lands. Will anyone else bring forth something as great as Kesh? Will any other mother ever give birth to someone as great as its hero Acgi? Who has ever seen anyone as great as its lady Nintud? The holy house whose is the shrine, the holy house Kesh, whose is the shrine. The house whose lords are the Anuna gods, whose news priests are the sacrificers of Iene. In the house the king places stone bowls in position. The Gooden priest holds the lead rope dangling. The A2 priest holds the staff. The brings the waters. The takes his seat in the holy place. The Inkum priests bow down. The PCC priests beat the drumskins. They recite powerfully, powerfully. The bull's horn is made to growl, the drumsticks are made to thud. The singer cries out to the Alay drum. The grand sweet TG is played for him. The house is built, its nobility is good. The house Kesh is built, its nobility is good. Its lady has taken a seat in its. Ninher Saja, its lady, has taken her seat in its. Will anyone else bring forth something as great as Kesh? Will any other mother ever give birth to someone as great as its hero Asgi? Who has ever seen anyone as great as its lady Nintud? Draw near, man, to the city but do not draw near. Draw near, man, to the house Kesh, to the city but do not draw near. Draw near, man, to its hero Asgi but do not draw near. Draw near, man, to its lady Nintud but do not draw near. Praise be to well-built Kesh, O Asgi. Praise be to cherished Kesh and Nintud.